A high-pitched cry for help by problematic_Lana on AO3. Chapter 11. Things to do. Izuku was so confused. He really didn't understand very well how he landed in his current situation, but he didn't have the courage to say or do anything about it. President Mike, the same guy from the radio station, told him that he needed someone who would take care of him, and that he was going to live with Eraserhead and him for a while. He said it was really nice and Izuku was going to leave his house anyways, so he decided to not say anything about it. The first day went on so fast that he barely remembered anything at all, but the second day made things a little more real. Aizawa, the civilian name for Eraserhead apparently, told him that they arranged a room for him, and he needed to stay on bed rest most of the time for the following days. He couldn't fathom the idea of him staying for so long, but agreed anyways because adults knew better. It seems they decided that he needed surveillance, since they would come in every few minutes to bring things or talk to him. Izuku was so very glad to finally meet someone who knew sign language. It made things so much easier. They were really kind, too. They gave him food and a pill that took the pain away and even talked to him. They made sure that he understood that they were going to take care of him, and that he could tell them if he liked, disliked, needed anything. He wouldn't dare to ask for anything, but was incredibly happy to know he still had his backpack. Mike helped him unpack and clean what little he had, and even asked for permission to wash his clothes and backpack. Through his hero analysis notebooks, Mike learned that he liked heroes, and asked if he wanted to be one when he grew up. Izuku didn't answer. Sensing the tension after the question, he continued talking about how many heroes he knew, and that, if Izuku wanted, he would look for some videos of himself in action for him to look at. He was surprised to learn that he was also a hero. He didn't know heroes could have other jobs, and he decided to wait until the videos to learn about his quirk. That way, he would not annoy the adult. Yamada, on the other hand, wasn't so happy. They gave 2 weeks for hero work, but I can leave my own radio station. He babbled on his husband's shoulder. I could get some things from the market on the way if you want to. It'll only be 2 days and a week, and we can... I told you, it's fine, Hisashi. The underground hero said, I'm not going to die for being a few hours alone with him. He repeated. He'll miss him already. He pouted. He is really quiet, though. Do you think he's okay? He looked pretty distressed when he woke up. It'll probably take him a while to get used to things. They both nodded. The kid woke up well into the evening, the exhaustion getting the best of him. It took him a while to remember where he was, and after eating just a tiny bit of pudding, he was out again, as if he hadn't just slept for 14 hours. Now the kid was on his room, surrounded by pillows. Mike was in the room with him for an hour or two, and took notice about how polite and silent he was. It took a great effort of him to keep his volume at a minimum to not scare him, and it took a lot more to not overwhelm the kid with questions. For God's sake, the little listener was living with him, and he didn't even know his favorite color. He calmed himself down. The kid wasn't going anywhere, and needed to take things slowly. There would be plenty of time to get to know each other. The other thing was, there were a ton of things they needed to do for the kid's sake, but the fact that he didn't talk would make things harder. In the first instance, they needed the kid to make a statement, just to clarify some things, and Namasa's quirk wouldn't work if he did not give a verbal answer, which takes us to the next point. They needed to figure out why the kid didn't talk at all. He knew sign language. That meant that he didn't talk for a while at least. The medical examination determined that his vocal cord, throat, and ears were perfectly fine. If anything, his ears were even sensible to sounds, listening better than any average kid his age. Aizawa explained to his husband about the night he found him, about how he felt some type of quirk in the air, and now he was able to erase whatever it was. Then there was the option of selective mutism, but even that is normally caused by something else, and Shouta was sure that it was a quirk related. He insisted on taking Izuku to a quirk specialist, but Was it really possible for him to have a quirk with the proof they had that he was quirkless? Mike had a theory of a secondary quirk, but that didn't erase the X-ray that said otherwise. They would give the kid some time first. Then, when he felt more comfortable and needed some checkups, they could take him to a specialist. Mike went to the radio station and promised to be home as soon as possible, but it would be at least a couple hours in which he intended to make the kid comfortable with his presence. The kid in question was in his room, trying his best to reach for the coloring pencils without making a face. It was likely that he was still in pain, even with the medication. So, Aizawa handed them to him, and saw him draw some hero he didn't know. "Hey, kiddo, how about I clean a little while you do that?" Izuku looked up, the cuts on his nose and cheeks looking nasty. "We don't want it to get worse, right?" He just nodded, and Aizawa made it his mission to clean him up. By the look of it, one of the cuts was probably at least a little bit infected, so he put some cream on that one, and simply cleaned the others. Being that close to the kid meant being able to see just how uncomfortable he was with someone touching him after all, and the contrast to how he flinched in the hospital made him feel closer to him. He also wanted to work on his hair, but was afraid of pushing his boundaries, as he would not refuse anything. "You have really pretty hair." He started, trying to be calm. Izuku responded something that Shouta didn't quite catch. "Can you say that again?" "It's like Mom's," he signed, and then touched it, feeling firsthand how matted it was. Like his mother. Huh. Well, at least he now knew how the mother's hair looked. Kind of. He would willingly omit the part where Namayasa was working in order for his parents' arrest. He didn't need to know that yet. "It is a little messy, don't you think?" He started putting the creams and first aid kit supplies away. "Would you like me to brush it?" The kid immediately shook his head, and Aizawa suppressed a heavy sigh. Before he could even think of another trick for the kid to let him do something, he saw Izuku grab one of the locks of hair and uncurled it, seeing how far it went. Surprisingly enough, it even went below his neck. The kid then made scissor signs and pretended to cut it. "You want to cut it?" The surprise was palatable in his voice, only receiving a strong nod in return. "I can't do it." The little one frowned. "But I have a friend that cuts her own hair. We can ask her to do it." Another nod. Sooner rather than later, they would have to tell Nomuri and their other friends that they suddenly had a kid to take care of. And if the kid wanted a haircut, and Nomuri could help, then so be it. Even better, since they had a little brother his age, it would be a great opportunity to introduce them. He just hoped that wasn't pushing it. Surprisingly enough, the time with him flew away, the kid being mesmerized by the TV and constantly just changing channels, as if the buttons were more interesting than whatever was on the kids' channel. By the time Aizawa finished making dinner, Mike came through the door with a huge smile on his face. "Welcome home." "I'm home," he sang, his laptop in hands. "I brought videos for the little listener. He said he likes heroes, so I want him to see my debut video. It will be adorable." He bit his lip in an effort to keep his voice down. "You can show him after dinner. Go wash your hands." And they did. They ate dinner next to the kid's bed, so he wouldn't have to get up. And after they ate, they set up the computer to watch Mike's debut as a hero. Funny enough, that triggered a domino effect. Oh my god! Okay, I am in love with that. I love that. I love that, he's getting help he needs. And I thought it was going to be a while before, obviously, Izuku lets them cut his hair. Not cut, but brush his hair. But for Izuku to be like, "Hey, can we cut it?" I love that. I love that. I love that. I really want to see Izuku meet Ida. That is a possibility that's going to happen, and I want that. I need that. It is a need, not a want. So we're getting a lot of nice stuff, so it's no longer the sad, angsty stuff. Thank you, problematic_Lana. I know, as I've mentioned before, it's not going to be all smooth sailing, but I think the worst part of it is behind us, unless, you know, the parents make a comeback. I really hope the parents do not make a comeback and, like, the rest of the fic is, like, very, you know, cutesy, adorable. Who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? Who am I fucking kidding? Ugh. Who am I kidding? Who am I trying to fool? Myself? Because it's not working. I know that. Oh, okay. I really just hope. One can hope. One can just hope. One can pray. One can be hopeful, you know? You know? You know? Please, thank you. Hope. Hope is something that I would wish to have. Please and thank you. The next chapter is actually called The Question. So I wonder what that's gonna be like. I wonder what that's about. So yeah, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.